Welcome to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, welcome there as well. Super stoked on this episode because it is part two of what money is. I did part one last week. We are following up like this second part. I can't even put it into words how excited I am to share this with you guys. Because if you guys understood part one last week, and you guys are listening to this part, I hope this stuff clicks for you and that it really gets you to start thinking about this stuff. If you haven't listened to part one, put this on pause, go download part one, listen to that first, and then come back to this podcast or this video because it will make a lot more sense if you listen to that one first and then this one. Before we jump into this episode, though, as always, if you're on the podcast, make sure you subscribe so you're notified when new episodes come out. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like little thumbs up like. It helps spread the word of the video, grow our audience on that. Plus, share it with your friends. It helps them. It helps you. The content, it makes us do it more because we know people are watching it. So it helps us. It helps everybody. It's a win-win. Thank you very much. Let's dive into it, okay? Like I said, this is a good one. A quick summary of part one, for those of you guys that don't remember. I mentioned what money is, okay? It is a reflection of past events, okay? Now, to understand what we're going to talk about today, I want to bring up something that we talk about in our webinars, okay? I talk about one of the keys to financial freedom is being able to focus where you're putting your money. And for those of you that haven't been on the webinar, I talk about one of your number one goals is to get over 50% of your money going to what we call our second category, money for future self. Okay, so that way you get tangible financial wealth. I'm going to summarize that real quick because you have to understand the concept of how we break everything down at FitBucks with our technology, with the webinar and everything else, because you have to mentally think about money before you can get tangible wealth, right? So those of you that listen to part one of this, you hear me say financial freedom is two parts: intangible, which is mental, and then tangible financial freedom, which is actual dollars and cents. You cannot have tangible financial freedom, dollars and cents, until you have mental financial freedom, period, okay? So just to recap what we talk about on the webinars, the way our technology is broken out, we simplify your money life, how you think about money. Where's my money going, okay? Either you have three categories where you can put your money. Day-to-day money, which is your income and your expenses, right? That's what's there. And then money for future self, which is like your savings for short-term goals, investing for like retirement, paying off debt. That's the second category. The third category is risk management. So things like insurances. Okay. So those are the three categories that we always talk about. Okay. Another way of simplifying this is you're either getting money in or you're getting money out, or you're putting money out, right? Those are the only two things you can do with money. Okay. So if you think about it that way, I'm going to focus on the day-to-day expenses, like category number one, and money for future self, category number two. Okay. And by the way, those of you that have been on the webinar, I've gotten a lot of emails asking me to dive deeper into this. So this is why I say the focus, and that's secret number three from our webinar about the different categories and the money. This explains it. Okay. If you haven't watched our webinar, go sign up on our webinar page. I'll put a link in the description, okay? Basically, what ends up happening, okay, is you have those two categories, day-to-day expenses, money for future self. When we are young, okay, most of the time we are going to have about 55 to 65% of our income, give or take what your income is, but about 55 to 65% of your income will be going to that first category, money for day-to-day expenses, day-to-day money, okay, and to your day-to-day expenses. And typically about 20 to 30% is going to money for future self, okay? Now, there's this little saying called lifestyle creep, okay? What that means is as your income goes up, your expenses keep going up with it. And on our webinar, that's the secret number three, is that the key to financial freedom is not necessarily compounding interest and all this type of stuff. It's understanding that, hey, today I got 60% of my income going towards day-to-day expenses and only, let's say, 25% going towards money for future self. My main financial planning goal is to switch those. I need to get 50% or more of my money going to money for future self, because that's how I get tangible financial freedom in the long run. Okay, so that's the concept that we talk about on our financial freedom webinar. Okay, the reason why I'm bringing it up on this podcast is because money is reflection of what you've done in the past. And what we've done in the past typically becomes our habit. That's why we get lifestyle creep. So if 65% of my money is going to expenses, my habit is expenses. So when I get a raise, subconsciously, I'm just going to keep spending money because that is what I've done in the past. And my current finances are going to reflect that. And for a lot of us that don't understand this mentally about financial freedom, you just get in this habit and you will continue spending. And then you get at 60 years old and you don't have enough money to retire. And you're like, well, how did I get here? I was saving 25% of my income. You're right. But your primary focus and your habit was expenses. And that's where most of your money was going. Now, you can do one of two things with this. Okay? You could say, I'm now aware of these things. Like, I'm mentally aware that I should be focusing on my money, where I put my effort, where I put my money. And right now, my focus is on expenses. So if I'm focusing on expenses, then taking this principle of money is a reflection of past events, then if I'm looking out 10 years from now and I'm focused on expenses, guess I'm going to have 10 years from now? I'm going to have expenses, and I'm not going to have that much money saved, and I'm not going to have that much debt paid off. In fact, I probably still have a lot of debt. It's not going to change in the future because my habit and my focus stays the same. That habit is never broken. Okay? And the only way you can break it, and the first way you can break it, is to be cognizant of it mentally. So that's what I meant. In order to be financially free, there's two aspects. There's tangible and intangible. Tangible, you can't get there until you mentally understand that concept that money is a reflection of the past. And that is why, like in part one of this, I said like athletes, for example, movie stars, people that inherit money, they lose it. They go bankrupt. Because what happens is, let's just say I'm an athlete, okay? Or let's just say I inherit money. Either way, it doesn't matter. But before I get my big contract, before I get my inheritance, my habit is to spend. I have 70% of my income going towards day-to-day expenses. If I don't mentally understand this concept of getting from expenses and switching that focus over to money for future self, okay? Again, that focus, I say over 50% of your income because wherever the most percentage of your income is going, that's what you're going to get more of in the future, right? So try to get over 50% going towards money for future self. If you don't understand that concept and you don't understand that the past reflects, or the future reflects basically the past, that reflection of what money is, right? Money is just a reflection of past events. Yes, I inherited money, but my habit is spending. Guess what? I'm going to spend it. And I'm not saving any of it. That money might be earning interest. I might have income. I'm still not saving any of it. So in the future, I'm going to go bankrupt because money reflects past events. All right. So that's why you hear a lot of 60-year-olds and 65-year-olds and even 50-year-olds that are like, this is bullshit. I've worked my whole life. I've saved. I can't even retire. It's the government's fault. It's this fault. It's that. It's like, no. It's your fault. Right? Because money is a reflection of past events. and you did not understand that concept. Okay? Or maybe they did understand it, they just ignored it. Okay? So again, you can take this knowledge, and what I'm referring to in the last podcast of money is a reflection of past events, and then what I started talking about earlier in this podcast about, okay, well, let's actually break this down, taking some of the concepts that we do in our webinars and whatnot about, here's the 3 categories. This is why most people fail with tangible financial freedom, is because they have so much money going to their expenses and a little bit going towards money for future self. Okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like most of us that graduate, especially with inflation nowadays, that's the way it's going to be. The problem is that most people keep it that way, that lifestyle creep. Even when they get income increases, they keep it that way. And so they might be saving, you guys hear me say all the time about like 45 to 55-year-olds that I used to work with, that their financial plans were crumbling. They had too much debt. They didn't have enough in savings. They're like, well, I've been saving for, 15, 20 years. I was told to save $100 a month and I'd be okay, right? Like I'm going to do another podcast on that next week about that policy. But that's the thing. Money is a reflection of the past. So from your financial planning standpoint, like I talked about developing some human capital skills in the last episode and how that relates to future income. In this episode, it's more from a financial planning perspective. What do I need to do to focus on getting more of my money going to money for future self? Because I understand this concept of money is a reflection of past events. So if I don't change that, my financial situation is in the future is going to reflect what I'm doing today. So if I'm spending a lot of money on expenses, I'm going to be in the same spot 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. Okay. So that is the podcast, and that is the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one and the last one, because, it's something that, I put a little bit into the webinars on this stuff, hoping people would understand it. And the overwhelming majority of people have come to me. I was actually shocked. They're like, we want you to dive deeper into that, because we understand it from a high level, what you're talking about, but can you dive deeper and explain more of this, of what you're saying on the webinars and whatnot about financial freedom? It's like, I can dig as deep as you want me to dig. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the podcast and the last 2 episodes, because when this stuff clicked for me, again, I bring this up on the podcast when I was 26. Once I figured this out, within 5 years, I was worth over $1 million. Just boom, like overnight. Like I said, the reflection is not immediate. You got to keep going. But if you understand these concepts, you will get there. Okay. So if you don't understand the concepts or you're confused on them, go back, re-listen to part 1, re-listen to part 2. You guys will get it. If you guys need help, fitbucks.com. You can sign up. It's $18.99 a month. If you want to talk about this stuff, like, you can send me an email or request talking to me, because I can dig deeper into this with you. Like the other coaches, like we train them on the stuff, but the knowledge of that stuff isn't as deep. So if you guys want, you can reach out, email me, say you'd like to talk to me. My schedule's all over the map just because I'm flying all over the place and working on tech and all that stuff all day and doing podcasts and stuff. So, but I'll try to help you guys out if you want some further help on this. As always, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys soon.